So one of the activity is to remove work location access. Now, before we even jump into that, let's just quickly talk about the security concepts. Is if you need a security for any particular thing to do within the system, you need to be associated with a security group. Your association with the security groups is then added to a security policy, whether it's a domain security policy or a business process security policy. And that is what opens the access for the securable items or the action oriented business process. So, this is what we have discussed so far. And based on that, we'll go through these activities one by one. So, the first one, it says remove work location access. Now, the keyword here is your work location. So, work location would be something that comes in your contact information functional area. So, this activity is going over the longer route. It says run the domain security policies for functional area report. You can run that. Select the contact information and then select this particular domain. Now, this activity directly shows you that you can, just select this domain. But in real time, what you can do is you can also run this if you're completely new to security, new security for securable items. And this task might not run in a tenant access that you have. I'm using one of my own tenants. So because there are quite a few restrictions in that. So search for work contact. That is what we are looking for. Click OK. Contract, review, edit. You have to see where we have view contact information or just work contact. Don't want to delete it. This can be one of them, but we don't want to change it. The requirement that we have looks for remove work location access. Let's go ahead. Change. We don't want to change anything. Work contact information for worker, which is a report expressor. So why are we going with this? Is because we don't have to change anything. We only have to remove the access. So let's see, looking at the security, let's see where is it secured. It is secured under person data work contact information, and it's a domain, and it comes under your contact information functional area. Let's see what they have. They have worker data work address, worker data work contact information. Okay, let's open this. So this assignment has the wrong value here, number 4 and 5. It's person data, not worker data. So this is that right domain which we need. Now, out of this also has a lot of child domains. This particular domain policy also has multiple child policies. So what we need to remove access is this one. So we go to that particular domain security policy, and let's say your group is HR people, you can remove access to that simply by going to the related actions, edit permissions. This group to have access to, you can just remove it. And please make sure to run this particular task activate pending security policy, which is point number 9. Then only your changes will be active. All the other points 6, 7, and 8. 6 is saying that you can basically look for these actions, that this is where your right security is. But the way we search for it using the view security for securable item, we looked into the domain, we looked into the policy, and we are very confident that this is the one that we need to remove access from. Now, one thing to notice here that your parent policy There's other information also. But in our use case, we only wanted to remove the work address. If they would have asked for work phone number, work email, or everything related to work contact information, then you will remove the access from the parent policy. And that is what point number 7 is saying. Click the override parent permissions. What that will do, because right now these all child policies inherit from the parent. But if you want to do a separate access, like we just removed access from this, that is also a possibility. Like you're breaking the chain. And the override one option, it only applies on the parent policy, not on the child policy. So that's not applicable. So this is like a very, very simple example of it. You search for the right domain, you remove access of the security group, you activate the policy. It is as simple as that. This is just a small use case. It's saying that you can run this report. It says domain security policy for functional area, filter on the benefits. It says domain security policy for functional area. I showed you this one earlier also. That is an easier way, a quicker way to search for domains if you know the functional area. But if you don't know the functional area, then first start practicing by running the functional area report. So in this, they're asking which security groups have permission to self-service benefits domain. Nothing, you just have to go to, there will be a column for, you'll see self-service, self-service. So it's just a theory question. All they're asking is what are the different security groups that are being used here. Most of them will inherit from the parent. So it's employer self, pre-employer self, retiree self. So let's say you are joining in a new company as of December 1st, but you have been given access to the Workday system before that so that you can finish all your onboarding activities. So that makes you a pre-hire, a pre-employee basically. And once you, on the day of your first day, which is your December 1st, your profile will automatically be a member of employee self. These are all self-service is nothing but when it is for your own. Every employee will be having access. You would observe something in every self-service domain, you will have employee self. But every worker data domain, something like this, rarely employer self will have access. It will be specifically to the HR domains or the administrators or the supporting roles. And the setup one, wherever you see the setup, that is definitely for your administrators because they need access to set up the system. Process depends on what area of the system you're looking for. If it's benefits, there are a lot of processes like open enrollment, ACA tax filing. So those also are separately added as different domains. So it's more of an observation, more of spending time and clicking on each thing because each domain also gives you some description. But yeah, you don't have, the best part is you don't have to remember anything. You can literally search for any domain if you know the right way for it. Okay, now let's do this example. It says we need to provide a HR partner role to an employee, Jane, for the sales organization. This group already exists. What steps need to be taken next? Let's understand what is the requirement. They say that they need to provision access. They need to provide access to an employee whose name is Jane for a particular organization. And this group already exists. What step needs to be taken? Now, they're asking that there is a new employee or whatever, if it's a new or old employee, they now should have access to the HR partner group. That is what they're asking. So this is your employee who needs to be provisioned access to the HR partner. And it says HR partner role for an XYZ organization. So what would be your first thought process in solving this? Now, in this case, it's literally a one-step solution, but to understand that one step, let's work on something. Okay. So, and we won't be involving domain in this because they say that this group already exists. So if I look into the tenant, sales organization might not be here. So we'll pick any existing organization. Let's say I pick up any of my Velvet organizations. Okay, so if I go in the roles section, I will definitely have some HR. Now these are all a lot of custom ones. Let's say I pick this one. So right now, nobody is assigned to it. What they are asking is to assign it to someone. So we also might not use Jane, we might use someone else. Let's see if Jane is already there. So all you have to do is go to that organization, go to the roles, assign roles. We already have an HR Velvet HR partner, but they're asking us. So we use both head HR partner, and let's see if we have any Jane in the system. So let's just pick this one. Oh, we have Jay Patel. Let's pick this one. That is it. That is literally the solution of it. So now if I filter again, let's go back to our organization first. Go to the roles. We added signed. And one thing definitely to observe here that this organization has subordinates, which means all of them also will get the same person as their both head HR partner. Let's explore that. So if I navigate to this organization, the roles, okay. But the only difference is instead of assigned, it will say inherited. The place where we assign it, that is where it says assigned, and now it says inherited. And this security group, this is an assignable role, which is associated with your security group, which is this one. And this security group has some access, like some domain access. We yet have to discuss the security groups in detail, but I want to do a refresher first before we jump into that. So literally the solution is very straightforward, but you need to understand that you need to assign them to where. In this case, it's sales, like we assigned it at one of the Velvet organizations. But still, let's go through these bullet points. It says you should verify that HR partner has view edit permissions to job compensation, etc., etc. So when we'll be creating our own group, we can definitely add those access. So that's not a problem. The second point, it says in order to initiate or approve transaction, this group must also be part of the business process. So they're asking us to give this HR partner security group some domain access from the first point and business process access from the second point. The third point, it says change should be assigned HR partner at the topmost states. So in our case, we can create a security group, give it the access, and then the next thing we'll do is we'll assign it exactly the way we did it at the top level Velvet organization or whatever organization you have. In the same way, you go to the related actions. You don't need to proxy or anything. Assign roles. And just you assign them there. So one second. Oh, this is where it ends. This is the second example that starts. Yeah. So you go, if you see the very last bullet point from all related actions, click on roles. And then you will get the assign roles and do it exactly the way we did it. Adding more security to the group, the first and the second point, we'll do that in some time. But this is how you assign the role. The second example, it says copy Jane's access, who is an HR partner, to another user named Daffy Duck. This is very simple. You go to any existing employee. Now, we might not have the same employees that are listed here just for reference, because this is from the GMS tenant. We no longer uses the GMS tenant. Okay, so the name might change. So let's say we want to give Jade's access to someone else, or we want to give Jade someone else's access also. So you go to the actions, and you go to the roles. So when you're working from the job profile, it was earlier on the roles, but now they moved it to security profile. So it's basically copying someone access from one profile to another. And in that copy, you can also have the person from where you're copying from to continue to have that access. It's just like a new recruiter is being added in your team and they should have the same access as you. So you can copy one's access to the new person. So you go to the security profile, use the first option, assign roles, add and remove. And it says copy role assignments from. So you can just give the name. Let's say we give someone else's name is Charles Bradley. And it says remove all roles for the assignee. If you select this, what will that mean? Now, recently we assigned Jade Patel as a board head HR partner. So that will remove it. So if I click OK, it will still, for confirmation, will again check. It says, you see two columns. One is specified effective date, which is the current roles, which says that, she's assigned as the board head HR partner for Velvet EX2. Now I selected that remove the access, therefore it is selected. If I don't want to remove it, I can remove it from here. And then copy role assignment is the second section. So Charles Bradley has the access for this Amex HR partner, Dove HR partner as an expense partner. So that will all be copied now to Jade, including the Velvet EX, which already exists. So when I click submit, this is the column which we need to look forward, is that now she is an MX partner, Porthead HR partner, which already existed, and these other three got added, Dove, Expense, and the MX. So that was the second assignment, is to copy from one employee to another. And this is a very, very common use case where someone who comes in and their access should be replicated. But your company should definitely have some process around it, some approval policies around it outside the system, that if someone is joining in, make sure that you're not copying some senior recruiter access to a new recruiter. It should be a recruiter access copied to a recruiter. I did enable it initially, but when we were copying it, I removed it. Like I disabled that checkbox. Yeah, so I was saying that your company should definitely have a policy around how to provision the access, because see, this is very easy. Once you get an understanding of all the security elements, you can literally copy access from one employee to another, but there should be an approval. So when we receive tickets on a day-to-day basis that this person has joined us, can you please replicate the access? We always ask for a manager approval, that if the new hires manager is approving that, then only we'll provision the access. In the fourth point, it says to assign any user-based groups. Select assign user-based groups. We won't do that because this is like an advanced item, and but you can assign users to the user-based groups, which is highly restricted. Like you might have access to give access. So far, what we have done, but to give access to a user-based group, it will need more security. We'll talk about that in some time. So still doing the same thing. Now, the third example is we have a new HR employee, Jane Smith. She needs HR partner access. Okay. She needs HR partner access to all employees globally, but she should not have access to compensation, or personal information of other HR employees. Outline the steps to create such a security group and assign it to chain. For this, we need an advanced security group called intersection security. So this definitely requires creation of a new security group, like it says, of a type intersection. Now there are many different types of groups. The two types of groups that we'll talk about is user-based and role-based. Outside of that, now these are Workday delivered groups, user-based and role-based, but you can also create your own. And this example requires us to create an intersection security group. Now, to understand what does that do, let's understand what an aggregation security group do. So there are, just for comparison so that your understanding becomes easier. So there's another type of group called as aggregation. By the name itself, if you're creating an aggregation group, it asks you for how many groups you want to aggregate, not the number, but the different types of groups. So I'll show you here. So create security group is the task that we use. And we'll use the aggregation security group. We'll give it the name as Velvet. So it's saying security groups to include. So if I add, let's say, employee SL, and then I add, the Velvet groups. Let's say Velvet HR. Okay. Now a combination of this, any employee who is a member of HR partner and also employee SL makes eligibility for this group. On the other hand, if I create an intersection group, this type, this is a free text. You can put any name here. In this, there is an exclusion criteria. Here also, you have security groups to exclude, but we have very limited type of security groups we can exclude. We cannot exclude all types. But in this, we can exclude organizations. So what they're asking in our use case is that HR partner role access to all employees globally, but they should not have access to other HR employees. So this use case not only requires you to, so if there is an existing organization which only captures your HR employees, that is what we'll add here. Let's see if we have anything here. Let's say HRIS is your organization, which covers all your employees, only your HR employees. And you select this option, applies to current organization and all subordinate, which means it will automatically include everyone downstream. And here, let's say we already have the group, which is Velvet HR Partner. We use that group. And we can assign the security or whatever they need. So I'm just giving you the last part of it, that this is how you will exclude. So we have not assigned any security to this group, Velvet intersection, which will do that. But the primary purpose is how intersection works is it will only include access from this group and minus out anything that we have here. It also has security groups to exclude, but we don't want to exclude a security group. We want to exclude a group of people, a set of people that can only come through an organization, not through a security group. So aggregation is like combining everyone together, and intersection is what is the common out of it. So in this case, the system will understand, okay, if someone is an HR partner and they're not an HRIS employee, only those will be eligible to have the security that this security group will have. That is how intersection works. But this is a lot later in the learning of, it comes as an advanced security person. But since this was a real world example, so I thought, why not I just share with you. So intersection works only one way, which is what you select here and minus what is here. But if you're adding multiple, and if you're expecting in that also it uses an intersection, that is not how it works. So you can definitely, let's say if I want to edit this, okay, we don't want the employees to have access to HRIS and also Velvet EX2. So that will work. But if you're adding another type of organization, which is like, Velvet Belgium location hierarchy, that might not work in every single scenario because two different types of organizations you're using. But yeah, same types of organization, like these both are supervisory. That's absolutely okay. And here also HRIS of type matrix, which is another type of organization, but still this also is like an advanced extension of supervisory organization. So that's okay. That works. And I can only tell you this because I've experienced it multiple times. I've created uh, the last 6 months I've worked with security groups to very, very depth, and I got to know these things. You don't find these on Workday community also. It's like tried and tested things. But yeah, understanding the concept is what is more important. So giving access to a security group. Now let's work on that. We already have certain security groups. Let's say Velvet Intersection or Velvet HR Partner Group. This already has some access, but I'll still add some more access. So how do we do that is, they're asking HR partner access to all employees, but they should not have access to compensation or personal information. Right now, this group has access to person data name. This is personal information. So we first need to remove this. How do we remove that is we navigate to that particular domain security policy. It's literally very easy. Edit the permissions and you remove the group. Again, want to do it. It's not saved yet because you still have to activate the policy because you made a change to it. Then have to remove it from here. You can also do it from here also. Edit permissions. You'll always get this alert because it's saying you that you need to activate your changes using this task. Activate pending security policy changes. Once you do that, you activate pending security policy changes. This is the task that needs to be executed. Now, in real world, you have to be very descriptive of adding the comment. You have to start with your initials, like or start with own override and removing HR partner access. And you put the names, I'm just adding A and B. You actually put the name of the domain of what you're editing. So you have to be very descriptive, but you won't be adding every single time. You'll just add test forward, and this is like a confirmation that you have made some changes to these domains. It does not specifically say what change you have made, but it just specifies the domains that you have worked with. And if there's someone else working at the same time making changes, that will also be activated. So now, if we go to our security group, we don't have that particular group access to this. So literally, we removed access to personal information, which that HR partner group had, and compensation already, it does not have it there.